Hi, folks, with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about what is your top 10 movie list, your movie watching list. And I just noticed as I was going through my sort of top watch lists is that of all the movies on the list, none of them have a social justice or political message. And I did this sort of, I suppose, subconsciously, really, or unconsciously. All of the movies on the list are just good entertainment, good acting, good scripting. They're just a well-made, well-produced, well-directed movie, and they're absent, social justice, political messaging. So now there are some that you could say are borderline exceptions. For example, the Paul Newman movie, Absence of Malice, is a movie that I enjoy, today, and enjoyed it when I first saw it, and I thought it was quite well done. Had a heavyweight cast, Wilford Brimley, Paul Newman, Sally Field, and so on. But I thought that was a good. But it did have a bit of a message in there about the overreach of the media, the press, as they called it then. This is pre-internet, and public servants engaging in leaks to the media for their own political ends, that sort of stuff. So something I think it's quite current and relevant today. But nonetheless, coming back to this idea that I've dropped out all the movies that have social messaging, even movies that otherwise are quite good. The social messaging irritates me, and I find it, look, it's got no place. I want to be entertained, not to receive, socio-political Marxist instruction. And any movie that that is hijacked by activists, whether in part or in whole, I found that over time I was just leaving those off the list. I wasn't going back to them. So I just want to talk a little bit about that. Now, one of the movies as a kid that I think the multiple reruns on TV by the time I got to see it, but a movie In the Heat of the Night with Rod Steiger, Warren Oates, Sidney Poitier, and it was quite a successful movie. I think Rod Steiger got an Academy Award out of it for his depiction of a southern United States Mississippi sheriff. But the depictions were, it was directed by Norman Jewison, and he was very much influenced by the Jewish activist money around at the time, particularly wanting to highlight Southern whites as all a bunch of corrupt, useless, low IQ hicks, which of course wasn't true. Nonetheless, the movie, when I first saw the movie, it portrays a black policeman from Philadelphia who's visiting relatives in southern United States. He's at a train station waiting to catch a train. There's been a murder in the town, and a police officer checking the train station arrests him purely on, as the movie depicts it, purely on the basis of him being black, even though he's dressed in a sharp suit and so on. and it's quite a ridiculous sort of scenario, but they're there just to highlight the evil racist whitey. That's the whole purpose. The movie is to show evil racist hick, low IQ whitey, sophisticated, urbane, well-dressed, much smarter than all the white people, black guy, and then the redemption of the racist cop who then becomes the black guy's best buddy. That's really sums up, I think, the plot, and the devices they use to do that shows what a political and messaging movie it was. So when I look at it today, it irritates the crap out of me. And by the time I was in my I don't know, I'm in my 60s now. By the time I was in my early 40s, I was already going, nah, you're trying to hit me with a message here, guys. I don't like it. Entertain me. As soon as you go down the path of messaging and giving, this is what you should think, this is how you might, no, you're losing me. You're not entertaining me anymore. But as a kid, I thought it was cutting edge social commentary. Well, this movie really sticks it to the man. Yeah. But of course, as you get a bit older, the reality sort of comes in, and because by that stage you're older, and family and mortgages and school fee, all sorts of things come into play, which create a sense of responsibility, and also having to deal with reality. And then you start to see things very differently, whereas I think I might have been 15 or something like that when I first saw that movie. But going through other movies, even quite a famous movie and quite well done in many ways, the movie Zulu. Now, during the McCarthy hearings in the United States in the late 1950s, quite a few of the communists or alleged communists or people with communist affiliations, they weren't all rabid communists. I mean, maybe they were sympathetic to it. A lot of those were Jewish. A lot of them were gay, lesbian, that sort of thing. They fled to England at the time, and got jobs in the BBC and ITV and Channel 4, and their influence can still be seen today, incidentally. And one of those, Cy Enfeld, was made this movie Zulu, and it had Michael Caine in it, one of his, I think, very first movie appearances, and again, quite a good cast of English actors, Stanley Baker, that sort of thing. Others were there, Nigel Green and others. Anyway, it was it did quite well. I think it was like 63, 64. They made the movie, 1963. So now I don't think you could make a movie like that today. But they highlighted and invented class conflict, which they injected into the movie. There was no class conflict. It was just a pure invention. And they introduced other inventions to the movie that were, again, to do with messaging and social messaging rather than ill-informed whites who were prejudiced towards blacks, this sort of thing. That was also in there. And for that reason, I rate Zulu down. Not again that is an epic and an extravaganza. It doesn't have its pluses. It does. Otherwise, it was quite well made. But that intention by the Jewish producers and creators of the movie to introduce social messaging into the movie, they just can't help themselves. They can't not do it. And I think that as I look at Zulu today, the movie Zulu today, that subtracts from the movie, and I won't put it on my top 10. Certain scenes I would put still rate as very good today, but overall the social messaging is what ruins what otherwise could have been excellent entertainment from beginning to end. Now, there are movies that do stand up. The Godfather is a case in point. Now, some sort of suggested the messaging in The Godfather is a relationship of a father to a children, and these sorts of things, and family issues like that very different children. There's the hot-headed Santino, the thoughtful Michael, the crazy Connie, the hopeless Fredo, and this sort of stuff, that type of thing. And I looked at the Godfather with some sort of, and I think everybody wanted, I wish I was as powerful as the Godfather. People will fear you, and that sort of thing. But the reality is, the Godfather, for whatever criminal success he achieved, and that seems to be quite considerable if you've got numerous judges and police and everything in your pocket, then. But the idea is that none of your children turned out any good. Now, when you've got 100%, like 4 out of 4 non-success rate, then as a father, at least you've been a terrible failure. So I tend to see the God's family side of the God, but that doesn't sort of change anything. It's still a great movie. So on my list of movies that I would rate in that top, that I see again and again, I'm prepared to look at it again after a few weeks. I think I'll have a look at The Godfather again, or another movie, Master and Commander is another one on the list, and some others. And the first few episodes of that TV series House of Cards with Kevin Spacey, some of these hold up very well, I think, and they're on that I'll look at it again and again list. So Groundhog Day is another one. But this idea of as long as I'm being entertained and no one's trying to message me or manipulate me or so on, or tell me how I should think, or tell me that I'm evil for not having, you know, all my best friends aren't black lesbians or something. Then no, I'm not going to keep those movies on that top list and see them again. But others see it. You know, I know someone around my age that thinks The Heat of the Night is the Sidney Poitier movie, is still, you know, great social commentary from the late 1950s and early 1960s. But I don't agree with that. So I was interested. It sort of surprised me, and I looked at my top 10 list. I hadn't looked at it this way. My top 10 list, all of them were just purely good entertainment. None of them were messaging social justice, bullshit leftist Marxist movies. They were all just good entertainment. And even movies, you know, that David Lean's The Bridge on the River Kwai, which again, as a young man, I quite enjoyed. But when and the story was changed quite considerably from the Pierre Boulet novel. The same guy who wrote the novel Planet of the Apes, interestingly. And in that movie, they tried to sort of create this idea that the Japanese were hopeless engineers and builders and so on, which is, of course, quite absurd. The Japanese were very good engineers. And, you know, the incompetent, hopeless Japanese had been shown how to do it by the British and so on. Not that you know, that's not a reflection of the reality of the place or the time, and what was going on there, and that irritates me, that there's that heavy-handed attempt to push a message that is quite divergent from reality. Nonetheless, I'd be interested in seeing what your thoughts are on this. You know, what's your top 10 list look like? You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.